Hi everybody. So I was doing this video and I'm filming and thinking, well, let's just make it a day in the life, even though I'm going to talk about the differences between the Silhouette Auto Feeder and the Graph-Tech. Let me just update you on the business first a little bit. Okay, so today is Thursday. Tomorrow my kids go out, my March kids go out. They're super cute guys. You'll see them. I love them. There is, of course, one St. Patrick's kit, and I still have another one from last year, which I'm keeping in the shop. So you'll have option of getting one of the two. And I'm super excited. I like them. I like them a lot. It's been fun working with this these graphics, right? And I'm almost caught up to the sense that at this time, I just have to create the listings, which is good because, I mean, in 20 minutes or so, I need to go pick up Elisa from school, and then we're coming back home. And once we come back home, then I'll start creating the listings. But I'm hoping that for the next release, next month in February, I'm going to be able, let me see what the first Friday of February is. Oh, well, the first Friday of February is the 3rd. So I doubt that I'll be ready to release April kits on the 3rd, but it should be no later than the 10th. But who knows? I'm going to try because I do have most of the patterns picked out and everything already. So I'm really going to try hard. Okay, what else can I fill you guys in? It's Elisa's birthday on Friday. And yes, it's going to be Friday 13th this year, but she's actually excited about that. So yeah, good thing, right? She's happy to have her birthday on a Friday, the 13th. And it would have been funny if it were her 13th birthday, but it's not. And then we've been super busy between the holidays and her birthday, and so many things also going on with the house, that I feel that I've barely been able to come up for breath, and I haven't really quite had the time to do a check-in with you guys. I'm hoping to start those again soon, and I'm hoping to be able to film some videos of me cutting and of the Graph-Tech going, and me, you know, working on orders, organizing stickers. I just have not been able to because it's either that or get the orders out. It's either that or film a plan with me. So I've been kind of keeping it very basic, but I feel that we're in a good spot and soon we'll be able to start making that happen. The other thing I wanted to say is thank you to all of you who got the 12 days of surprises, and thank you for the great feedback that you've been giving me. You guys loved it, and everybody's like, I'm hoping it comes back next year. I loved it, and it was a lot of work. So I thought of scaling it down a little bit for next year, and I have to make a decision whether I'm going to do that or not. It seems that you guys really like the amount of stickers, and you were really happy about the value of the kit. So yeah, that's a lot of food for thought, but it's also very much appreciated because it'll help me when it's time to plan that, to make a decision of what it is that I'm going to do. The other thing I saw is that you guys were pretty much all, I mean, I'm all over the place. It's not the thing I'm going to say, but you picked pretty much all of the different styles of kits that I offer, which to me was kind of surprising because I thought that maybe one particular style would sell more than the other. And well, that was true. I do have to say that, yes, some of them like sold double than others. There was a good amount of almost all of them. I would say that the only one, if I were to take one out, would be the horizontal, because I don't think anybody's doing horizontal anymore. I think it was just 1 or 2 sales, and it's a lot to design for to just sell 1 or 2 kits that have horizontal. And I did see a good amount of you coming into the shop now buying A5. So I didn't sell that many A5 horizontals, but now that a lot of you are coming to see to get my A5 kits, then maybe the A5 horizontal is going to be a good kit to keep, because you guys know now that I'm making stickers for those. The other thing that I'm thinking about, and leave me a comment down below if it's something that might interest you, I am thinking about getting a Hobonichi cousin. I see a lot of people going towards that, and I've seen the layout and I like it. I'm just a little bit concerned about the paper, so I'm not quite sure what the paper, if I'm gonna like the paper or not. So if you have a Hobonichi, and please give me some feedback about the paper, especially if you've also had Erin Condren, and how you compare them both, and if you can see through it a lot on the other side, and how you deal with that, and you know, whatever you can comment, it would be very much appreciated. I've also had people that buy the A5 horizontal kits, and sometimes I've seen people buy the vertical ones as well to put in their Hobonichis, because the vertical is very flexible. I think a lot of people use it for the plum as well, the weeklies. I know that some people get the 7x9 daily duo and they use it on the plum daily. So you kind of can correlate some of the kits to others, but I don't know. I'm thinking about going into a Hobonichi and adding that to the shop. So let me know if that's something that interests you. And then lastly, there's not all that much to show of me working. I have mostly been working on designing and filling orders, and you can see all my stickers behind, and kind of reorganizing my studio to make room for things, because I'm growing and I'm starting to feel tight, even though I have a fully dedicated studio. So I'll have to see if there's a way to grow vertically, or change some of my furniture for something that might work better for me, because these drawers were from when I had the jewelry shop, and that made sense at that point, but it doesn't make as much sense now because I can't fit the stickers and organize them the way I like to in there. So anyway, this was just a brief kind of check-in. Now I am going to show you the video, which is going to be like a hello again and all that stuff, but I thought, well, let me give you an update, and then let me show you the differences in what I think about the Silhouette Auto Feeder versus a Graphtec, and yeah, like my experience up to the time, like up to this moment, right, with both of them. So okay, thank you so very much for always being here with me. Let's get into the other type of video. So if you're not really quite interested in shop stuff, or maybe hang around just to hear and listen to things, because I'm not really going to be showing anything, it's just me talking. Okay, here it is. Today, I told you the other day, I'm sorry, that I wanted to bring a video to those of you that were considering possibly the Silhouette Auto Feeder versus the F-Mark2. So here's the thing. I tend to overachieve, so I really wanted to film a lot of video with B-roll showing you the machines, and as much as I'd love to do that, I can't seem to make that happen. So this is just going to be me talking about the pros and cons, and if you use a cutting machine, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is pricing, right? F-Mark2, you can Google Graphtec F-Mark2. So what that is the, and I have it right back here. So it's a big cutter that has, it's a CE 7040, which is a plotter, but it comes with a feeding tray. And actually the feeding tray is the most expensive part of it, because if you were to buy the CE 7040 by itself, I think it's a third of the price that the whole combo is. So you can go to any Graphtec dealer and check the prices. I think they're pretty standard. I don't think they vary, because when I placed my order, I looked through different ones and I didn't see a price variation. So just get one, preferably from whichever place would be servicing it should you run into an issue. Okay, and that's what I did. So in my state, or at least in my area, they are the ones that even if I had bought it from any of the 2 other places, they are the ones who are going to fix it. So best to buy it directly from them, right? At least that was my thinking. So that's what I would suggest you doing. Okay. So let's talk about pros and cons. Besides the pricing, which the tray for the silhouette is very inexpensive compared to the F-Mark, and it attaches to the silhouette. So if you already have a silhouette, you don't need an extra expense, whether if you buy the Graphtec, then that's a big expense in and of itself. The other, and I'm not going to go all the pros of one and all the cons. I'm going to kind of be comparing certain things from the whole functioning side of it. So the other thing to consider is that you will have a learning curve with the Graphtec. And I bought mine in August and we are in January. I think I didn't install mine until either late August or September. So I've been using it September, October, November, December. Let's say I've been using it 5 months. And now is when I'm feeling like productive with it. I haven't migrated all my patterns to Adobe yet, Illustrator, but I'm feeling quite productive. I can do things like quicker, and I still have some bumps in the road every now and then, but I feel like the learning curve, you know, it goes up, 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 up. I feel that I'm on the downhill of that learning curve, which means that I take less time learning and more time producing with the Graphtec. The one thing with the Silhouette auto feeder is you don't have a huge learning curve. You need to learn how to install it, and there are some things that you do need to take into consideration, but it's not like a huge learning curve. You will still be using your Silhouette software, your Silhouette cutter. Maybe if you haven't printed with barcodes, maybe that's something that you're gonna need to learn, because I can't cut without the barcode in it, and I'll get into that in more depth. But maybe you kind of need to arrange certain things because the registration marks are placed differently on the paper versus how they're placed with a map cutting, and I'm talking again about the Silhouette auto feeder. So the learning curve for that one is a very small one. It's not a steep one. It's kind of fast to get through it. Okay. The Graphtec is faster because and more accurate. With the Silhouette, you can continue getting the same results. Like the feeder, if anything, for me, it kind of changed it to the worst, because I did have to play around a little bit on where it was placed, how it was feeding, because I was having a lot of issues. So since I was having all those issues, I ended up using the barcode method, and that's when I started being able to cut properly with it. However, I do want to say that the F-Mark, once you calibrate it and you set the registration marks and you know all that, which is a huge learning curve, so don't get me wrong, it's not like you don't have a big process, but once you get through that hurdle, it is very consistent in reading the registration marks. I don't move them. Like I created that template once following the instructions, and that's my template. So my registration marks are always being read, unless the printer didn't print properly. So if it's kind of gray and not black, then they won't be read, or unless the camera moves and I need to recalibrate them. But that rarely happens. Whether with the auto feeder tray, I just couldn't get it to read. I had to print the barcode, and that helped. But from every 3, I was successful in reading 1 or 2, not all 3. So it kind of defeated the purpose of having an auto feeding tray because it was not registering most of the time. So that was a little bit frustrating for me. And it's something that you do need to know. Another thing that I guess was kind of like so let me just say I'm super happy with my Graphtec. I'm not happy with the Silhouette auto feeder tray. However, if you don't have the money for the Graphtec, you might learn some tips and tricks that I didn't want to go into trying to figure them out, because to me it was just not worth the time dealing with registration marks, right? And then so what I want to say also, I think one of the biggest disappointments that I had when I bought the Silhouette auto feeder was I'm sorry, I don't know, I'm going through a lot of I think it's allergies, because I feel like sometimes like I have a ball of hair caught on my neck. I'm sorry. So anyway, what I was saying is that it was a big disappointment because I have printed a whole bunch of pages that I haven't cut yet, right? So I have like a stack this thick that I didn't, like I was excited and like, oh, it's a good thing that we have the auto feeder, because then if I can just cut that stack without having to put it in manually, oh my gosh, that's just gonna be wonderful. Turns out it's not, because the registration marks are placed differently. I couldn't play with them so that they would be placed in the same position. And again, it was not worth it because it wasn't registering well most of the times. And I kind of found a position where to put it so that it would register, but you know, it wasn't like the best either. In terms of space, you can check the dimensions of each. The Graphtec will occupy more space. I think that where I have my Graphtec, I could probably install 2 Silhouettes with the auto feeder, with each one with an auto feeder on it. But don't think you're saving too much space, because you also need to leave space behind the Silhouette for when it yields the paper out. And here's another thing. All the videos that I saw out there were showing the Cameo, and the Cameo would spit the paper back out to the front under the auto feeding tray. But for the portraits, which is what I have, it would spit it in the back. So if it didn't spit it properly, the next one, when it came to register, pulled in the one from the back, and that became a whole mess. So in terms of the feeding, I think that gadget needs a little bit more work, in my opinion, because I'm super happy that I don't have that many feeding issues when I am feeding my mats. With my Silhouette, I don't feed it straight. I kind of tilt the mat upwards a little bit, so that took away all the feeding issues that I had. And it's very rare when it doesn't feed properly and I have to refeed it. But I can't do that with the auto feeder, and it just wasn't working for me. Another thing that you have to take into account is, I know there's a setting for the Graphtec where you can do the kiss cut and the full cut, the die cut. It's called die cut. I haven't quite gotten it right, and I feel that it hurts the mat because they have like a Teflon strip that it's what the equivalent for the mat. So I feel that you know, right now I'm just using a guillotine to do the outer cuts, but I just need to play with that a little bit. With the Silhouette, you cannot do die cuts, the auto feeder, because it cuts it on the air. It doesn't cut on top of a Teflon strip or anything like that. It's just cutting in the air. So also you have to kind of play with the blade settings. You cannot use the same ones that you're using with your mat, and you have to kind of figure that out. But I mean, that's just something that, you know, it's to be expected. But just also so you're aware that you wouldn't be able to do, like if you're like me and I use 2 different colors of lines when I'm using my silhouette, and one color is the settings for kiss cut and the other color is the setting for die cuts, you won't be able to do the die cut settings in the mat because it'll just become a mess because it doesn't have the support, and then the sheet will just be a huge mess. The back and forth of it, like when it's going to cut all around, it goes back and forth, and once part of it is out of the paper, then it'll just get all crumpled up. Okay, so don't even try it. Maybe if you use like a dashed line, you could possibly make it happen, but again, it was a lot of time that I had to invest to make this work, and it wasn't just making that much sense. Also, when I feed it with the mat, the silhouette auto feeder, when I feed my sheets and my silhouette with the mat instead of with the feeder, I feel that the cut lines are more accurate. Once they're fed with the feeder, they're not as accurate, which to me feels like they move a little bit when feeding. And maybe that's also the issue why the registration marks have so many issues registering. For me, at least, that's what's happening. And I use premium quality paper. I use very like best printing settings. So, you know, they're all in. So I know my problem is not an issue with the paper or the print, which can be an issue, especially with Cricut. Like I was having a huge issue. I would never be able to get that machine to register the print and cut because it just wasn't. But also I felt that it happened more with certain types of paper. But with the paper that I use, I don't really have that issue. But I do with the auto feeding tray. What else? Well, besides the like obvious sizing restrictions, you can put like 100 sheets in the Graph Tech. You can only put like, I don't know, maybe 15-20 sheets in the silhouette tray. I would have to read the specifications to see exactly how many, but it's not going to be nearly as many as you can put in the Graph Tech. And also, you need to have a very good system for it to pull it out in the back, so that you could trust leaving it there unattended. I don't feel that I can leave my auto feeder tray unattended. As to the F-Mark, I can leave it. I can go take a shower and then I come back. Every now and then it happens that maybe my printer grabbed 2 sheets and there's a white sheet, so it stopped cutting. Very rarely I get an issue of feeding problems that it will bunch up the page or anything. I did get a lot of those in the beginning. I went through a whole bunch of Teflon strips because of those issues. But I learned how to position the rollers so that the paper goes in as flat as possible. And I think that's a very important thing that you want to aim for in the Graph Tech, but it's that you can control it. So with the tray, I see that it doesn't feed quite flat, but there's no way to control it. There's nothing I can do to help it feed flatter other than maybe try to stick my fingers in there when it's feeding, which, you know, kind of defeats the purpose of the auto tray, okay? I feel that for people that work with like bigger stickers and they have a lot of like a big margin for the outer cut, it might work. But for me, it was just not giving the right results. Also, since it doesn't have a mat underneath, I felt I couldn't cut scripts on it because it was just making a weird thing with the paper where the paper was kind of coming up. I don't know, it was just not a nice clean cut. So in order to see if this thing would work for you in terms of the cutting quality, try to do a matless cut. on your silhouette with different things and intricate things and see how it cuts, because that's what you're going to get with the auto feeder. You cannot, at least not to my understanding, you cannot auto feed with a mat, right? I guess that would be ideal, like having 20 mats and have the thing put the mats in for you. I don't know. You would have to have 20 mats though, and that's a lot. But anyway, this is just me trying to come up with a quick solution on what would be the best of both worlds. I don't think I'm leaving anything out in terms of the functionality and the cutting. I already said that the Graphic is faster. You're not going to get a better speed with the auto feeding tray. You're going to get the same speed you've always gotten out of your silhouettes. Oh, consumables. So the auto feeding tray doesn't have extra consumables, which is good, and that's nice because you already have to buy mats, and you already have to buy the blades when you're using this silhouette. But if you use the auto feeder, you don't need the mats, right? Again, the cut is not as nice and as clean, but for some people it might work depending. I don't think it works for a planner sticker business. At least it doesn't work for mine. I just disassembled mine and have it on the side, and really I don't even feel comfortable reselling it, because with all these issues, people are going to come back to me with the issue, and I'm going to be like, how can I fix it for you? Like, I'm not Silhouette. And I reached out to them, so their customer service, I reached out to them, and they weren't really helpful. They haven't replied to my message. So that's another like con. And that's also a reason why I'm just going more towards Graphic. With Graphic, when you purchase it, that's why I say try to purchase from the people that would be fixing it if you have an issue. They're very good at getting back to me, and they've done it in a very good time frame. And there's always been somebody, and they have different people depending on what my question is. I was having a question about design. I was having a question about an issue that I later realized what was going on. So, you know, they got back to me pretty fast, I would say within the day. And there was one time that they got back to me like just a couple of hours later. I understand that for any business, having their main cutter down for 2 hours is a big thing. So I always say, whether you're using a Silhouette or a Graphic, it's good to have a backup. So I have not gotten rid of my Silhouettes, because if something happens to my Graphic, I still have my other cutters and I can still function with them. However, my plan is to just get another Graphic, and hopefully with an auto feeding tray as well, just so that I, you know, something happens to one, then you have the other. Okay, let me just come back to consumables, right? So for the auto feeder, you wouldn't have to have a mat. However, you compromise cutting quality when not having a mat. With the Graphic, you do not compromise cutting quality. Once you get the settings and you know how to get them right, that's it. There's no issue, unless you don't know how to install the Teflon strip, or you don't know how to get the sheets to feed flat, because those were like the issues that I've had when it's not cutting properly. And it can take a while to figure it out. But once you figure it out, you're golden. And then, you know, it's just rainbows and little hearts from there on. It's not. There's always going to be something. But so what I mean is that for me, like the Teflon strips, I'm not a big shop. Okay, I'm still a small shop. So for me, I don't need to replace the Teflon strips too often. I did have to have a few of them when I was learning. So be sure to buy your machine with a few blades and strips, because once you're playing with it, and if you don't know how to put things in properly, you could go through some of them really fast. But once I've gotten my settings properly, I barely have to change them. However, I do want to say again, I am not doing the die cut. When you do die cut, I'm assuming that you'll go to through the Teflon strips faster. So that would kind of be the consumable that you would need to buy the most. And I have not, in the 6 months that I've been using it, or 5 months, I have not had to change anything else other than blades and Teflon strips. With the Silhouette, in that time frame, and having the Graphtec cut, most of the all the new releases are being cut on the Graphtec, and some of the older ones that I've been able to bring to the Graphtec. So I'm doing like maybe 30% of the cutting on the Silhouettes, and I've had to replace all my mats, and I have 3 Silhouettes, right? So I've had to replace all my mats twice. And in that same time, I've had to only replace a Teflon strip on the other machine, which is cutting more paper, once, and the blade ones. So I think that in terms of consumables, I would have to see if the shop keeps growing, which is my hope. I would have to see if you know, this would change, but I wouldn't see why it would become more of a problem unless I start die cutting, which is always something that I would love, just to have the machine do absolutely everything and have less intervention on my part. But for now, I'm okay with doing it how I'm doing it. I kind of got the hang of it, right? And then I can fit more things in the paper too if I'm not doing the die cut. If you do the die cut on the Graphtec, you have a very limited area. Oh, I'm glad I talked about this. Yes. So here, so I can fit. Let me just show you a page. Let me show you a page. I think this is the best way. So if I am cutting, let me see what this is. Okay, so if I am cutting with my Silhouette, right, you can see all of the space when I use a mat. So I can put a lot of stickers on a page when I'm using a mat. If I'm not using a mat and I'm using the auto feeder, I can put less stickers than what I can put on my Graphtec when I was doing die cutting. So basically, I could only fit this sheet and barely. And I wasn't doing a die cut. I was just doing kiss cut, because the way the registration marks work, it wouldn't allow me to put much more. And then if I was printing the barcode, like the barcode had to come here. So, and then the registration marks are closer together. So I could barely just fit. And one sticker sheet there, I couldn't do anything on the sides or anything like that, right? Which it's kind of like the way I'm cutting in the Graphtec. So when I am cutting, let's say, I don't have anything that's, oh yes, I do have something. So let me just show you this. So when I am, I'm sorry, I should have had this prepared with me, but it's okay. I have it here, I can show it to you. So this is a Graphtec sheet for me to cut, right? And I can go a little bit wider and a little bit taller for when I'm doing like the smaller sticker sheets. I just can't do too much. But with the auto feeder tray, I can't really go bigger than this. So this is it. For the auto feeder tray, I wouldn't be able to fit more than this, because the barcode would go here and it has to have enough space to hold a page while it's cutting on the air, because it's basically not cutting on the Teflon strip like the Graphtec. It's basically just cutting on the thin air, right? It doesn't have the support. It's what I should be saying. Okay. What else is there for me to tell you about one another? So bottom line is, I'm not even using my auto feeder. I thought that at least I would be able to go through the process of those sticker sheets that I don't want to migrate, to narrow the cut marks, and that's fine, and just cut those just to have it cut automatically. But then with all the registration mark issues that I was having, and the fact that it wasn't really cutting as precisely as with the mat, I was like, it's really not worth it. It's just better to migrate the pattern into Adobe Illustrator to work with the Graphic, okay? I don't know if there's anything that I left out that you guys would like to know. Please leave me a comment down below. Sometimes it takes me a while to get to comments, but I will get to all of them. And yeah, just leave a comment and I'll be sure to reply to that comment, because the idea, I mean, at least for me, is that we can all grow together and help each other out, especially because I hate waste and just buying stuff that's not useful. If I can help somebody make their decision on whether this is going to be useful for you or not, then I'm all for it. Because I mean, of course, there are certain things of the trade that I wouldn't share, right? Like, please don't ask me what paper I use, because you know, it's my paper. It took me a while researching, printing, ordering, finding companies, and going to different places to really be able to find this paper. So I kind of don't want to get into that. But in terms of my silhouettes, my graph tech, if you have any questions, like, I'm not a guru, but at least I've been using it for a while, and there are some things that I've been able to overcome. So yeah, send me a message here, leave me a message here, and a comment in the video down below. And then again, I always appreciate if you found this video helpful to give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I am mostly showing videos of my plan with me, but every now and then I'll have like a day in the life, and I go over certain business type of issues that I run into when I'm doing one of those. And I'm gonna start doing them soon because I had stopped for a while. So this is kind of like a day in the life, right? Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, take care.